Rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending.
You're talking about it, and so are we. It's What's Trending on BYU Sports Nation.
The rivalry game for BYU football. Our friends at Bleacher Report recently released an article featuring the 10 best emerging college football rivalries. Jarom initially pointed out this on the show on Wednesday. BYU and Boise State listed at number 6 on that top 10 list. Now, Jarom, in that article, there are some particulars of what make the Cougars and Broncos a solid rivalry. And I quote, Boise State will also be BYU's most consistently played foe, beating out Utah and Utah State. So there is the consistency factor.
That's not exactly true. They're gonna play the next 6 seasons against each other, and then BYU and Utah State, you'd imagine, will play each other.
Right now, they're saying like scheduled games.
Just because they're both playing each other the next 6 years. I disagree with that statement.
Okay. Disagreement from Jarom. But
it's a fact that they're both playing each other.
It's consistent. Okay, it's a consistent game, Boise State and BYU.
And Utah State. It's every year for the next 6.
Okay, I'm not arguing that. This is about BYU and Boise State. Okay? Number 2, and I continue the quote. For BYU, Boise State is the next best thing to playing a Power 5 team without actually playing it.
Opinion fact.
Okay, so a high-level opponent, not in a Power 5 conference.
Absolutely. Who could you play outside the P5s that's better than Boise State? Nobody.
Tom Holmoe agrees with that.
This is one of the games where we put in this long-term home-and-home schedule for many, many years to come. We did that purposefully. It's an inter-mountain regional game. They're big time. Sometimes BYU fans don't want to hear. They're really legit. They're great. They've won 3 BCS/college football playoff games. And every year, year in and year out, they're stronger and stronger.
Tom meant New Year's 6 instead of college football playoff there. But BYU and Boise State, my favorite series. Of all the series BYU scheduled, I love it.
Next, you have the regional proximity. Quote continues, of the two schools, which are located a relatively close 400 miles apart. Proximity is a factor, no doubt about it. So we have established 3 cores here: consistency, high level, proximity. That's pretty good. But is Boise State the biggest rivalry for BYU right now? Or is it the other team up north, Utah State?
Now, there are 2 different questions to me. If you ask me who's the biggest rival right now, it's Utah. It always will be. That's an eternal thing. It always was. It always is. But if you pit, Boise State against Utah State, now we're talking. To me, the answer to this is Boise State. It emerges nationally. It's always on ESPN. If you beat Boise State, that's a really good win nationally. People respect that win. If you beat Utah State, that is a really good win too, but it doesn't resonate the same way. Utah State is Corbin Kaufusi. BYU is Bronson Kaufusi. It used to be that it was little Corbin.
Bronson dominated Corbin
when he was 14. But now Corbin's grown up. Utah State is a threat to beat BYU. They ruined the season last year. So Boise State means a lot. Utah State does too, but I pick Boise State.
Okay. At R. Greenhaw, one of our Twitter friends and BYU Sports Nation members, says, USU football for sure, as his answer. A rivalry should be about tradition. The Boise State tradition isn't there yet. He has a point. There is history between BYU and Utah State, and I know the Cougars dominated through the 90s, but this used to be a series that Utah State owned through the 70s when they were a powerhouse football program, hashtag Merlin Olsen. Okay? So there is more history there between BYU and Utah State than Boise. Okay? The Cougars and Broncos have only played 5 games total. So Utah State does have that on their side. Also, this year, it's the last game of the season, and so it feels bigger.
Yeah.
It feels bigger because it's the final game of the regular season.
Boise State is the first home game, so that juxtaposition is interesting. But I love the fact that you're playing both teams every year for the next 6, and then that's just where Utah State is scheduled out. I imagine BYU and Utah State are going to play a bunch. To me, rivalry, I get the tradition. The tradition has been that BYU beats Utah State. But lately, Utah State, like the Corbin Kaufusi analogy, has grown up. They are a threat. They won 9 games 2 years ago, 10 games last year. And they went deep into the well with quarterbacks. And now the old wagon wheel is a thing. It's a thing. It's a meaningful game for BYU, which I enjoy. It's not a surefire win. I like that it's a competitive game.